Welcome into the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddie on Twitter. We have made it through the regular season. We are into the playoffs now. I do plan on doing a video for each showdown matchup here in the playoffs. More likely going to do a full slate video as well, but when it gets to be, 2 or 3 games a day, it really kind of shifts heavily to showdown. And so I want to make these videos for you to help you out. Now, showdown is going to be different than, building regular lineups. It's not the same format. It's just not the same in a lot of regards. I mean, other than the fact that it's football and that it's DFS, it does get very different. So a couple of things I want to mention is, of course, you've got a captain spot. In the captain spot, the salary is 1.5 times the regular salary there on DraftKings, and the players score 1.5 points. So that's kind of a big part of showdown is, nailing the correct captain. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the highest scoring person on the slate. But it's, something you got to keep in mind whenever you're building here, because how you correlate your lineup around your captain does become quite important. And then the rest of the spots are just flex. So you can play multiple quarterbacks. You can play, multiple defenses. We throw a kicker in there as well now. So, it does become a little bit different. And when you're doing this, you've got the one captain spot, and then you've got the five flex spots. You've got to have at least one person from each team. So you can't go more than, 5 on one side, 1 on the other. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. I do have, a few strategies that I like to play with here as far as like rules, if you will. Now, again, with DFS, there's no hard and fast rule. There's some general guidelines, and certain games will shy away from that. But for the most part, I'm looking to limit running backs from the same team to just one. So we'll talk about that as we get into each specific matchup. I like to limit the kickers from the game down to 1. I like to limit the defenses to 1, and I like to limit the tight ends to 1. So, and I'm talking one per team on the skill position. So 1 running back, 1 tight end, and I'm talking about kickers and defenses being 1 from the same game. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and we can hop into the positions. We'll start at quarterback. And at quarterback, I do like Brock Purdy here as far as, being someone that could be a captain. And I do like Geno Smith as far as someone who can be a captain. Now, in these situations, typically I like to stack my captains when they're a quarterback with 2 of their pass catchers. And basically the thought process there is, for a quarterback to have a big day, unless he is a Lamar Jackson or someone who's going to run the ball a lot, for them to have, a good day, be an optimal captain, they're going to need to do a lot through the air. So when you have a quarterback captain in this matchup, be it Purdy or be it Smith, I do want to pair them with 2 of their pass catchers. Now, that doesn't always mean that it's a running back, but in certain cases, it can be. So we'll talk about the running backs here a little bit later, but whenever I'm looking at these 2 guys, when I go in here and look at my groups, I do have Christian McCaffrey is one of the 2 guys that I could pair Purdy with, because obviously he's a great pass catching back. And when it comes to Geno, I do have DJ Dallas in that mix, because again, he's a guy who, when he plays, can definitely be invested in the passing game. Now, I'm not as interested in him as I am like a Lockett or a Metcalf, but I do think that it is important that, he is in the pool as far as, where you can go there. So that's what I'm looking at as far as the quarterbacks are concerned and the captains. I would suggest that even when you have them in the flex, that you pair them with 2 pass catchers. Now, in that case, one of the pass catchers can be the captain. So, if you're playing Geno Smith in the flex, one of the 2 guys could be DK Metcalf as captain, and then maybe Noah Fant as another flex. So definitely like to have 2 pass catchers whenever you've got, more traditional quarterbacks. All right, let's pop on over here to running back. All right, so on this particular slate, just like most, we're looking at, probably 2 guys per team here. So from San Francisco, I'm looking at McCaffrey. I'm looking at Mitchell. From Seattle, I'm looking at Kenneth Walker, looking at DJ Dallas. Now there's, salary involved and a salary cap, just like, your normal main slate DFS. So, you will get into a situation, where, for example, this week in this particular showdown, DJ Dallas is going to be a guy because of his salary. He's only $1,600. He's going to be a guy that I have pretty highly owned. I think he's going to be my highest owned running back on this slate. It's just with his price, I'm projecting him to have, somewhere in the 8-point neighborhood at only $1,600. That opens up a lot of things. So he's a guy that I may have to cap because, he could end up fitting into all of these lineups just because his price makes things work. And if you're going off the game theory that the 49ers are going to be, ahead, then you're going to see DJ Dallas get more work because, they're going to have to be throwing the ball more often. So I don't know how much K9 I want to play here. I think that may be the way that I get a little bit different. But, that's for you to decide, exactly what you want to do there. All right, let's get to wide receivers. Let's see here. For wide receivers, I'm not going to be playing a lot. So even though, I want to pair quarterbacks, with multiple pass catchers, part of that comes down to, them being a captain as well. But as far as receivers, I'm really looking to stick at the guys that, are the best plays here because I think DJ Dallas and that price tag, does allow you to not have to skimp too much else because you're going to be playing kickers as well. You can play defense as well. So kickers are another spot where you can, save some salary and make things work. But as far as receivers, I think I'm looking to just stick right at the top here with the top guys. You got your Brandon Ayuk and your Deebo Samuel from the 49ers, and you got your DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett from Seattle. If I'm playing Purdy or I'm playing Geno, I kind of want to force one of those guys. So I want to force either a Metcalf or a Lockett with my Geno in any spot, captain or not. I want to force that. And same thing with Purdy in either spot. I want to force an Ayuk or force a Samuel or a Kill for that matter, just to make sure that, you're getting him with with one of his big dudes. So that's where I'm looking at for there. Let's get to tight end now. Tight end isn't quite as bad as it is on, the main slate because you don't have to play a tight end if you don't want to. You can just skip right over them. But the guys that I'm going to have in my pool are going to be Kittle, of course. And then I'm looking at Noah Fant and Colby Parkinson from Seattle. Parkinson's got a $1,400 salary. Got him projected for around 5 points. So I think that he's, very much in play, even though Noah Fant is probably, the better player. I've only got him projected for one more point, but he's $4,400 instead of 14. So I'm not exactly sure how much Fant I'll have in there. I'll definitely have George Kittle. He's pretty expensive at $8,200, but he has very high ceiling games, and he's more, of a wide receiver, with how well he catches the ball. So, having him projected for about 14 points puts him very much in play there. And then normal videos, we don't talk about kickers. But here we'll talk about kickers. The kickers for me are always in play. Well, maybe not always, again, mostly weather dependent, but barring some extreme conditions, they're in play because they do score points. When I look at kickers, you got a guy like Robbie Gould. Let me see if I can see what he's averaging. Can't really see what he's averaging, but, it's not uncommon for him to get at or near double-digit points. And that goes the same for, all kickers. Obviously the better kickers, especially ones that can kick like 50-yarders, they get a few more points. But, you can get some decent points out of kickers, and the price tag very much puts them in play. Again, I shy away from two kickers in the same lineup. Again, depending on, the type of game. If it's going to be, a low-scoring slugfest, something that's going to be, 17-7 or something, or even lower than that. And that may be where I look to slide a few more kickers in there. But for the most part, it's a one kicker max. And this is not a game I expect to be super low scoring. So I think that's where I'll stick there. And then defenses, again, same thing. Defenses to me are always in play. In this matchup, even though we expect that the 49ers will get out and, win this game. I wouldn't say easily, but relatively easily. Still puts the, Seahawks defense in play because, pick six, fumble for a touchdown, just those things, add up points really quickly. In this case, I probably am not going to be interested in the Seahawks, probably only going to be doing 49ers, but still, I mean, you got to have them in your player pool, and feel free to, build these in MME with, a few different things in mind. When I build my showdown lineups, I definitely like to get an idea for how do I think the game is going to play out, and then build my lineups and gear it towards that. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Oh, well, a lot of volatility in showdowns. There's a lot of dupe lineups. There's only so much you can do, but figure out what your game, theory is, how you think it's going to play out, and build your lineups highly correlated, towards those things. When you put a wide receiver or a tight end in your captain spot, then you're definitely going to want to go ahead and make sure that quarterback is in that spot. Again, not always, depends on the quarterback itself, but for most situations, and in this game in particular, you definitely want that correlation. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you pop over here, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy the playoffs, and good luck here in the showdown.